Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, I'm playing the Tier 10 Pan-Asian destroyer Yueyang. I'm divisioned with Mechanic, who is playing the Shimakaze. If you're not familiar with the Yueyang, it is, I think it's a great ship, but much that you might read about it maligns it, and I'm not exactly sure why. It is, as you can see there, the torpedoes can't hit destroyers, but in my opinion, mid and late game, this ship can be really devastating. The torpedoes are very, very hard to see, and by the time someone does see them, it's too late. If they're on an angle that's going to allow the torpedoes to hit, they're not going to have enough time to maneuver. If it's a battleship, their rudder probably won't even start to turn by the time the torpedoes are hitting. So, I focus on, as you can see, staying alive long enough for those torpedoes to make a difference. And they hit really hard. So what you've got in the Yueyang is essentially a gearing. It's a little bit different, the gun reload is a little bit different. That sits lower in the water, so it's a little bit harder target to hit. It's not that you can't, but I don't know how well you can tell from this angle, but it rides very low in the water, so it doesn't have as large a profile as the gearing, which I really like. So I just use it to essentially as a support destroyer initially. What I want to do is I want to wait till the point in the game where I have a clear idea of where some bad guys are at, particularly larger ships, and then I just try to time my torpedo strikes accordingly. The reload on these torpedoes is fairly slow, so I don't want to waste them. I mean, they're just like with any torpedoes. You're going to throw a lot of torpedo volleys and have them not hit. What's the average hit percentage on torpedoes? Right around 7 or 8%, something like that. So obviously not great. Now I can get into this cap. It's Kleber. I don't have to worry about getting hydroed here unless there's something back there that I can't see. So I'm going to go ahead and get in the cap. And I'm going to try, as you can see, Mechanic's behind the island right now, although he is heading out wider. I'm going to try to get eyes on some things. So you can see the gearing there. So I'll call people to try and shoot him. I didn't want to open up there because it's got a Smolensk and a Neptune right there, and even with one volley they can do a lot of damage. Now, why am I pushing this direction? Well, very, very often, if you're the player that pushes into this cap on this map, from where that gearing is or even farther out, destroyers will throw torpedoes across. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get somebody who knows into this island and catch them with their torpedoes. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that gets sunk 3 minutes in because I didn't angle accordingly. Now, I don't want to give up the cap. I don't want Kleber to be able to get it. But I wanted to make sure I could keep my distance from the gearing so I didn't get spotted. Now I'll just zip right back in now that I know he's going to kind of nose into that island. I can see he's aiming this way, and he's going to end up coming this way. But when he does, I'm going to have the Soviets, Soyuz, and myself. And I've backed up far enough where I think I can probably smoke and still be able to see him as soon as he opens up here.
Smoke generator started.
Now, if he hasn't thrown his torpedoes yet, he will. You can see he hit his speed boost. There are his torpedoes. And down he goes.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Now, another really nice thing about the Pan-Asian destroyer line is that you have a lot of smokes. They don't last all that long. You can see, I just smoked. I've got
Smoke screen set.
a little over a minute left on the smoke. So it's not the 2 minutes that you would get out of a gearing, but in a meta with so many CVs in the game, now granted it's not a concern in this game, but in so many games where there is a CV, it's really, really nice to have more smokes that come back up quickly. You see I had a minute 15 there, minute 11, minute 10. I'll have a smoke before too much longer. Still got 33, 32 seconds. So there's going to be about a 30 or 32 or 3 second gap during which I would not have smoke available. Really handy. And this is what I was talking about before. We're 5 minutes in. I've got a North Carolina that's just kind of sitting. He's trying to angle against the Pommern. Imagine he's going to probably throw it in reverse to try and avoid torps from the Pommern. Our guys have pushed up far enough now that Kleber had to make a run for it, and that affords me the opportunity to try and secure the cap. And I will say that our Pommern might be trying a little too hard to get his torpedoes in the game. I managed to land 4 on North Carolina. I'm going to have smokes back up here in a second. So I don't have to take any damage. As long as Pommern and Kronstadt and all those guys are out there, I can keep vision of him. Pommern goes down, which and just like that, we lose Pommern to Kleber, Amagi to Cossack, and Hindenburg to Flandre. Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. Our Kronstadt's way back there, but you know, I've got another minute and 8 seconds on my smoke. As long as mechanic keeps North Carolina spotted, maybe I can get some fires. So if you're keeping score, we're down 3 ships. Bad guys are down 1. They've got 160 more or less point lead. And I've got 52 seconds to try to get some fires going. I'm not having a whole lot of luck. 23 seconds, torps will be back up. I'm hoping Kronstadt will hang on to his radar. We're not going to need it in 10 seconds. But he used it. We can see the Neptune. Maybe he'll blap the Neptune. Where to put these? And there's the Colbert. Go ahead and throw them out there. And those torpedoes are going to be wasted. But that happens sometimes. Caught me out here without a smoke. I'm going to definitely take some damage. See if I can just survive. Neptune, Kleber, Smolensk, that's a lot of shells. If I could survive this, I'm going to call it a win. Got the island, and I'm hoping to be able to get some cover from Smolensk. Now he's still able to fire over it, so I'll just angle up. Kleber's about to go behind the island. I will go invisible.
Our team has taken the lead.
And I lose a set of torpedoes there to Smolensk. Well, got very banged up, and the Cossack on the other side takes out our Benson. But both teams are now down 4 ships. This is far from over. Again, in my opinion at least, mid and late game, the strength of the ship is in the torpedoes. I'm still alive. Granted, I've only got 1,438 hit points. But if I can get these torpedoes put to use, I can definitely still contribute. Now Kronstadt, he basically couldn't fire at the Smolensk, and that kind of cost us. But he's pushing in now, which I question, because you know Smolensk has got torpedoes, and I'm sure Smolensk would love to torpedo the Kronstadt. Woods guy on the other side of the map in the Grossevoid takes out the enemy Cossack. Kronstadt does finally realize, hey, pushing into a couple of torpedo boats, not a good idea. That allows me to smoke up, and I can try to put guns on Kleber. You can see the torpedoes out there now. And Kleber is very fast. It looks like he just hit his speed boost, so he's trying to outrun my shells. But I'm not going to let him do that.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
And now let's see about Smolensk. 8 kilometers visibility. That's a wing and a prayer shot on the Smolensk. He's maneuverable, but if he smokes up there, he might get hit with a torpedo. Minute and 30 seconds, and I'll have him up again. Looks like Smolensk is going to run north. Okay, that's fine. We pushed him back, and Kronstadt's in a position to prevent him from getting into the cap. Now, at this point, even though the enemy Izumo just took out our Sovietsky Soyuz, we have a ship advantage. We're down 5, they're down 6. We have all the caps. And this is looking pretty darn good. I got very banged up, and Mechanic got a little banged up. But remember what I told you about these torpedoes being really, really hard to see? Well, it's going to pay some dividends here. And I'm just pointing out this is the time for the Kronstadt to push. And I say, you can get to Smolensk, but
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
it doesn't work out that way. You can see the blue circle that's around my ship on the mini-map. Tells you what my torpedo range is. It's 13.5 kilometers. They're fairly fast. And because they're so hard to detect, I'm sure he saw it coming, but by the time he did, it was too late. And despite the fact that we only have a one-ship advantage, this game's looking firmly, well, you know, you hate to count any chickens until they're hatched, especially in this game, but this is looking pretty good for us. Our Grossovoy's played a good game thus far. Mechanic's played a good game. I've landed a few lucky torpedoes. And we've got a Kronstadt. Kronstadt's a pretty tough ship. Puerto Rico on the other side, another very tough ship. North Carolina, amazing guns. If it can manage to not get sunk by torpedoes here, he'll be able to contribute. And I say that because North Carolina seems to be pushing in. So he's going to be taking a lot of fire as soon as he gets within range of something. Right now with the Cyclone, it's only 8 kilometers, but you can see the Zhao is there, and presumably the Shimakaze is out there looking for an opportunity to torpedo that North Carolina. That's a big, juicy target for any torpedo boat. Now, why am I sitting here? Well, because we don't know where the Shimakaze is at. We can see on the minimap the last known position, but if the Shimakaze comes this way, I don't want to run smack into it. Flandre takes out our Grossovoy. Now both teams have 5 ships. And I'm looking at the mini-map more or less regularly. You can see there North Carolina. Grossovoy says that they could have used me on the other side, but and I understand that. They probably could have, but I've been busy on this side. North Carolina manages to smack down the Zhao. That's a tough matchup. You know, the Grossovoy player is talking about the Shima Torps. Yeah, Grossovoy is not a good match for Shima when the Shima has a lot of close cover. I'm going to smoke up here, get the guns to work. My hope is that I'll be able to distract North Carolina, get him to turn, slow down a little bit. Maybe I land a torpedo or 2. But Mechanic beats me to it. Nicely done, Mechanic. I'm just pointing out, and I'm sure you already saw it, but it's just habit for me. I'm pointing out that yeah, we got something in the Bravo cap. You can see the Shimakaze now. He was hunting the North Carolina. He's really close to North Carolina. So we've got something in the Bravo cap. That doesn't leave many options, right? It's got to be the Izumo. We know where the Shima's at. We know where the Flandre's at. And this game is now firmly in the bag. So I will say, Mechanic, thank you very much for another great game. It was really a pleasure getting to spend a little time with you divisioned up. Very fun. Played a great game. Those of you joining me, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned anything or just enjoyed watching, really appreciate it if you'd consider liking and subscribing. You can see those 2 ships rammed each other. And I'll see you next time.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.